It's really hot in here. It's really hot in here. It's hot. Hi. Today I wanted to give you some advice on finding an apartment in New York, specifically New York City, just in case you're planning on moving here. So I say New York City because it's a very different process, I feel, to find an apartment, say in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, whatever, than it is probably in Long Island. So I just kind of want to give you my experience for the specific place that I looked for, and hopefully it can help you. My first advice would be to start looking and start researching. So if you've heard anything about New York, the process of finding an apartment is very fast. It can take anywhere from like 2 days to 2 weeks. So it's very fast, and they always tell you not to start looking until like 2 weeks before your move-in date. But that doesn't stop you from looking at apartments just to get an idea of the prices for what you're looking for. So based on the area, the amount of bedrooms, so on and so forth. It also doesn't stop you from researching the areas. I lived in New York before I moved to Manhattan. I lived in Long Island / Queens. It was like on the border. And the areas in Manhattan I had no idea about. I just knew that I wanted to move to Manhattan. I didn't know anything about it. So doing my research really helped me to kind of get an idea of where I specifically wanted to move to. So that can't hurt. If you can come to the area and like maybe have lunch and hang out for a little bit just to get the vibes of it, go for it. Number two, and it's the biggest advice, be careful. Go with your gut. If something doesn't feel right, it's probably not. And sometimes your gut doesn't always kick in. Your gut instincts doesn't always kick in, and that's also where your research comes in. If you're using a broker, Google his name. Maybe nothing will pop up, but maybe you'll get a lot of information about that person which are negative. If people have bad experiences, they're going to put it on the internet a lot of times. And I found that with one broker that I was working with when I was looking by myself, that he had a lot of negative reviews. And I didn't do that until after my gut instinct said, wait a minute, this guy is kind of off. But I should have done that before. So I would say do your research, follow your gut. Okay, so basic information about the process. One, in terms of cost, you have to make 40 times the rent that you're going for. So if your apartment costs $1,250 a month, you're gonna have to be making $50,000 a year. So I ran into that issue with myself because I'm a student and I work part-time because I'm a full-time student. And so I wasn't making 40 times, even though I had savings that could cover about half my rent, plus my income could cover the rest. Nobody wanted to give me a place because I wasn't showing that I was making 40 times the rent. So that, I would say, that's your biggest thing. The other option is to have a co-signer. So, and a lot of people will call it a guarantor, but it's basically like a co-signer. So if you go for a car and you don't make enough money, you can maybe bring your parents and they can co-sign for you. It sounds like, oh, it's such a simple process, but that takes a lot of trust. One, the co-signer has to be making 80 times the rent. So whereas you had to be making 50,000, now they have to be making 100,000, because it makes sense, right? They also have their place that they're paying for, whether it's mortgage or rent. So the person who's renting, you want to know that, oh, they can take care of their bills and yours just in case you can't pay. So they have to make 80,000. 80 times the rent, and they have to be willing to sign for you. So a lot of times I hear that parents are signing for people. My mom couldn't do that because she just did make 80 times the amount that we were going for. So they might not even have that option to do it. So, it's really, I would say was the biggest hang up for me when I was looking for a place. My other solution was to find a roommate. So I didn't make enough, but maybe I could find a roommate where we would find a 2-bedroom, and combined we would make enough, and that's what I did. So you have options. You just have to really go about it and know, and also stick to what you're looking for. Like, for example, I didn't want a roommate, but okay, so I said, okay, maybe I have to go for a roommate, but I still don't want to move into somebody's house because I wanted to feel like my space too. I don't want to feel like I'm just renting a room in an apartment. So I looked for a roommate who didn't have a place and wanted to search with me to find a place for us. So, like I said, options. So in terms of finding roommates and finding apartments, I use roomymatch.com to find my roommate. I also use Craigslist, and Craigslist is another one where you kind of have to use your gut instincts because it can be either good or it can be bad. So just be careful. I also use Listings Project, which I really loved. It's a newsletter that you sign up for, and you get an email every Wednesday of apartment people who are looking for roommates for the apartment. So the apartment is already there, they have the place, they just need you to fill the space. And it presents itself as artists looking for artists, but I'm not an artist and I used it. I didn't find my roommate there, but I'm sure people would be open to accepting somebody who wasn't an artist as long as you can pay the rent. So, and there's also art space available, office space available. It's a really good service. I would definitely sign up for it if you're looking for an apartment. In terms of Roomy Match is great in that you don't have to go on the website to find an apartment. You go on the website, you sign up, you give basic information, and then you give more detailed information. It asks you how tired you are, what time do you go to bed at night, are you in on the weekends, do you go out, do you bring the party home? And using that, they match you to people who are similar to you. And so then they send you emails of people who match you. So they might say, Jessica is a 95% match to you. Here's what she answered to the question. And if you paid $20, their $20 a month fee, or maybe it's $20 a year, I don't remember. If you pay $20 for a month or a year, you at the end of the email, it gives you their phone number and their email or whatever they offered. Now, I didn't pay the $20 because I was being cheap, but my roommate paid that $20. So she was able to contact me and say, hey, we're a good match, let's meet up and see if we like each other enough to find a place together. And that's what we did. So that would be my first place to go to. Other service includes Roomster and Reddit. I've never been on Reddit, maybe once in a while clicking on a link, so I don't know how it works, but Google it. Google is everything. In terms of finding apartments, the ones that I listed for finding roommates is also a good way to find apartments. Like I said, Listings Projects is really them saying, I have this space available. So there's your apartment already. Craigslist, you can find a ton of apartments available. Roomy Match, there are also roommates on there that already have their place and they're looking for somebody to fill a room. So it's not just, I'm looking for a roommate to find a place together. It's, I'm looking for a roommate and I have this space available already. So you can find an apartment that way. For me, when I was looking by myself and once we were looking together, we used Street Easy and Naked Apartments. So I love Street Easy, but Naked Apartments is basically the same idea. You put in the location that you're looking for, how much you're willing to pay, how many bedrooms you want, and a list of apartments come up. With Street Easy, you can also add that you want no fee. And so a fee is the apartment company might charge you like a 15% of the yearly rent. So if your year's rent is $50,000, they're going to charge you 15% of that, which is annoying, but a lot of people do it. But there are other places that don't. So just know your pocket. So that moves me on to the fourth thing, knowing your pocket. Do you want a broker or you don't? I didn't want a broker when we first started out, but we ended up having to get one, and I'm so happy that we did. So the good thing about not having a broker is also saving money. Having a broker is going to charge you 15% of your year's rent. Ours charged us 13% as a discount, but it was still a lot of money. So you get that lower cost. But having a broker, you have somebody to advocate for you, to find you apartments. Everything is not online. They have access to so many apartments that maybe just opened up and hasn't gone online yet. So our broker took us to a lot of places that we didn't even know existed based on Street Easy and Naked Apartments. So that was good. I would say one of the downfalls of having a broker might be your broker is a crook. We ran into that too. We met up with a broker who, we found this apartment that we really liked and he said he had access to it. So we went, we signed all this information, we gave him our social because you have to give them information. And then he wanted checks from us and we said, but why are you asking for a check? It's a no fee apartment. And he's like, I'm not sure if it's a low fee apartment. And we're like, but it says no fee online. And so he tried contacting the landlord. He couldn't get in touch with the landlord. So, once he was doing that, we were like, this seems weird. Why don't you know information about the apartment that you're trying to sell to us, you should have all that information available. So, and I ran into a lot of those types of people. So again, your gut instincts, and this is something that you might run into if you're using a broker. But the biggest thing was having an advocate for us that's, talk to the landlord, and also could find us different apartments that we might not know of. Number 5, like I said, the process is very fast. We've saw the apartment that we chose. We looked at a lot of apartments, so that process might not be fast if you don't find the apartment that you're looking for, but once you do, that process is fast. We saw the apartment on Monday. We turned everything on Tuesday, and I think Tuesday or Wednesday we were approved, and we were moving in by the end of the week. So we actually got our keys by Wednesday. I'd say, since the process is so fast, be ready. Be ready in terms of finances, and be ready with your paperwork. So paperwork might include your pay stubs, your letter of employment. Can't think really of anything else. Yeah, that's it. Pay stubs, letter of employment, your checks. One of the issues that I had was I didn't have checks, so I had to transfer the money over to my roommate, and she processed everything with her checks. So make sure you have your checks available, because you might not be able to do that. I had to call the bank in order to transfer a large sum of money. That being said, in order to move into our apartment, we had to come up with over $8,000 right off the bat. Mine was $4,000, a little over $4,000, and hers was a little bit more. So, like I keep stressing it, be ready financially, because even though your rent might be $1,250, you might be paying broker's fee. So we paid brokers, we paid a down payment, which is 1 month's rent. Then we had to pay the first month's rent. And then we had to do an application fee. So it's a deposit. So not a down payment, a deposit. And part of the deposit, when we turned in our application, we had to give $1,000 of the deposit up front. So just know that, bring a check with you when you go look at the place, because if you like it, it's okay, well, fill out this form and give us a down payment, so we're not showing it to other people and like giving it to somebody else. We're going to keep it on hold for you because you gave us this money. So definitely keep that in mind. It's very expensive to move into an apartment. You might be thinking, oh, $1,250, and I keep saying $1,250 because that's my half of the rent. Our apartment is $2,700, which is why it costs so much to move in. So it might be cheaper for you. If it's $1,250, then you're looking at about $4,000. So just be ready financially, and be ready for the craziness. It was just like a lot of headaches dealing with crooked brokers, constantly having to go to look for apartments, not liking what we saw, not liking the neighborhood. Here, I hated the apartment when I first saw it. My room is very small, and I hated the neighborhood. It was awful. But I went back home and I did research on the apartment. Not on the apartment. I did research on the area, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. It has great nightlife. It's very lively. It's supposed to be one of the popular neighborhoods in Manhattan. So I was like, this is great. Yeah, I'm going for it. And so, it ended up great, and it was worth it. But again, you might get into a situation and like a month later, you're like, I regret this. So really do your research, really be prepared financially, and really follow your gut instincts. If you have any other questions, feel free to send me an email, post a comment with your questions. If you want the information to my broker, who was amazing, send me an email and I will send you his information, because he was absolutely amazing. And we actually contacted him when we were re-signing our lease just for information, and he was great about it. We keep in touch with him because he's just a wonderful person. So if you want his information, please send me an email. I'm more than happy to pass it on. Okay, bye.